in a moment. I was in Alaska. I fought my way through 40 miles of bushes and gravel and rocks and all sorts of things. See, when I had COVID, I felt pretty sick. I don't know. This was like back in 22. I guess it's been like 2 years. I really thought I was gonna die, but I think things are better. It was like my like the month before graduating college. I was like worried I wasn't gonna make graduation or typing. You gotta stay healthy. I say you gotta eat well, you gotta exercise, vitamin C. Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll get off the COVID subject for the 5 minutes. Oof. Mark, I saw the Freya thing. I retweeted it. That was very cool. I love that. I haven't played with the new version of Freya yet. I've been doing more Twitter or X. Uh, so it always gives me something to look at when I open Twitter these days instead of just the normal, regular, terrible Twitter posts. Well, then, do you have the link to it so people can see it if they haven't seen it yet? I can download it and mess with it. How do I do that? It's just like the most recent Prey branch? Oh yes, I need to do a post about the 20,000 stars. Yeah, we hit 20,000 stars and 256,000 downloads. That's actually fantastic. Uh, 256, I think, is better than 250. I don't know. Evan, what is like your mental counter? You're thinking in powers of two, right? That's where you've been at.
Yeah, I think maybe 255. Like you saw U8 max,
Okay, we
maybe
hit 20.
256.
Oh, it's actually an example on the site now. It's so compact. You know, we added the for loops at one point, like the for loop syntax, and it was like kind of controversial in the moment. It didn't seem like a great idea in the moment, but now I see it like everywhere, and I very rarely write like proper iterators, like iterator expression mapping. I think it's a very good idea. It makes your code look very clean. Uh, Mark, what does that do? That config? Like it
It
just
turns
doesn't.
off the terminal for Windows. Otherwise, whenever you launch the app, you'll see a little terminal window with it.
Oh,
It's like every single UI app needs it.
yeah. That turns off the terminal. I've had to do that manually before, but it didn't seem like that was the thing that did it. Config adder, bug assertions. You need to run. You can't run it at all. But wait, this is configuring out the entire example, isn't it?
No, it just like adds an attribute conditionally if it is both release mode and on Windows.
Mm.
That sets the Windows subsystem to Windows, which makes the terminal disappear.
Oh, so it's like built in. Oh,
Yeah,
I've not seen it done like that. Interesting.
I feel like we can probably just like flip a few bits in the final binary and set that.
Yeah, when we
But
relink
yeah.
everything. Interesting. Cool. Yeah, we hit 20,000 stars. That's a lot of stars. That's quite a bit. I don't know. My mental model of it is like 1,000 stars is like cool. You've got something that got noticed. 5,000 is like all right. It's like an interesting project. 10,000 is like okay. Now it's more of a real thing. People are probably using it. And then like 20 is like you're on your way to becoming like a full blown sort of like piece of the dev ecosystem. I think 30 to 50 is where I want to where I'd like to get. And then you kind of feel like more of a shot. I think after 30 there's not much more to go. Or like in terms of delta between yeah. Tower's at what, like 80? I think. Something. How many stars is Tower at?
81.
81,000. Wow. That is a lot of stars. Hey, maybe when we add Python bindings, we can capture the entire Python ecosystem. All the
I,
stars from those guys.
I have seen like a Python web framework do like embedded Python within your HTML.
There, there's a couple of these Python. One of them got venture funding, like kind of a funny thing. Um, the, this analysis credits Flask with front end harmony. I don't know what technical like piece that means. On like a live view for Python recently that I think bindings. I don't know. The React Native people are kind of doing a lot recently. Um, I don't know if you've been keeping up. The whole like static Hermes thing has been a big push. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's like compiling. Is it is it running the JavaScript through like a byte, like the bytecode, and then executing that?
I want to say it like compiles a version of TypeScript to assembly, and it's not even a bytecode.
Oh, is that the new? That's the new version of Hermes. There's like Hermes and then the static Hermes, and I think static Hermes is like the full-on compiled version, right?
Yeah.
You know, we might we might have to compete, or quote unquote compete with the compiled TypeScript because that does seem pretty good. Uh, I don't know how everyone feels about TypeScript. But there's a very big ecosystem. I don't know how it works with the like the native bindings, but I'm sure that's like the problem that is being solved here. Um, it's originally for this like the fast startup of React Native, but I think it's full on bindings now. I don't know, getting Blitz into a spot where you could use it from a different language would be very cool. Not like you can't do that with WebView and stuff today, but Blitz specifically would be very interesting. I know, David, you've been like in this space. How's the AI stuff going? Evan?
Uh, I don't know. Okay, I guess. I published a new version, which is good. It does like audio transcription live pretty well now. Haven't been
No.
like a whole lot of new models, but
Mhm.
I don't know, it's going.
Are we in model saturation now?
There was one today that does like mixture of experts with a 7 billion parameter model, so like only 1 billion active, like 50 tokens per second, even without a GPU. It's crazy fast, but it's not that good.
I'd love. I don't know. We have this idea that once 0.6 or 0.7 lands, we're gonna have like a jam of just building apps, like dog fooding Dioxus. Once it does all the things that we want it to do in the short term, I really want to mess around with Calism, how and build like a mobile app with it. Very high on my list. With one of these like smaller models. I don't know.
Yeah, 5.3.5 is pretty good. Now that structure generation is easier to use, I'm
Mhm.
excited to build some things with that. I'm trying to combine like all of the fast free token providers, Grok and Celebros or something, and then get synthetic data from that, fine tune a little tiny model for structure generation.
Fly has GPU instances now too, or like you can tail scale into a GPU instance or something like that. There's some provider thing for the Fly instances. You can like run models on Fly now. Um, I don't know. This is a very interesting space right now, with either on the edge or like embedded models. Dioxus I-89 internationalization. Is it L? Is it I or L localization? Where's Fluent used? I keep seeing Fluent pop up places. Internationalization. Yeah. So this is now its own thing. So how does the I-18 stuff work? I haven't messed around with it at all. It's interesting because we can't do like the static string optimization through macros. Um, it's not like we couldn't. We just haven't like built anything there for it, or like we're not going to expand the macros. I think in what we're doing. I guess maybe switching to Cowster, like knowing that a macro call could generate a static thing might be an interesting thing to explore. What does translate do? 18 instance or something? Okay, interesting. Would it make sense to have like a I-18 provider that you wrap your app with? That way you don't have to have that like I-18 in the scope, like it's a context thing. I gotta mess with SDK as well. Yeah, I don't know. So we kind of been chatting, or I guess there's a number of like design things I wanted to talk about today. So we're kind of in the final stretches of this 0.6 release. I did disappear to Alaska for a moment. I am back. Um, but there's like a few things to chat about. One of the things we're not going to do, but would be an interesting conversation is, um, what do we do with SDK in terms of like, do people continue just to add it as an extra crate, or do we feature flag it? How do we keep it version locked? There's a number of these things that are like periphery crates that are also kind of integral. And I don't know if we should have it like exported. Like, it's not that any different to have like Dioxus SDK versus Dioxus SDK. Are you guys, is like the SDK team, are you guys like version locked to the same version that Dioxus is? Like SDK has to follow 0.0 minor that we do. Like next cur is 0.5.x.
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting. Yeah, I do wonder if it would make sense to. I don't think it should be in the main tree because there's just so much in it, or there will be so much in it.
I could see like the hook layer on top of SDK sys being in the main tree, and then the like cross-platform system stuff being in out of main tree. So
Hmm.
the hooks are really the only thing that needs to synchronize with updates.
Yeah, there's like a couple projects I want to run like nightlies against, or I don't know, like when we update a thing on main, we should be encouraged to go update it on the peripheral crates. That way, like you can use them together. I think I don't know. I want us to get to a more stable point. Saying you're going to be at a 1.0 is like kind of challenging, especially with I think we have 39 crates in the repo, or at least on one of my branches we have 39 crates in the repo, and being like, yeah, we're going to 1.0 39 crates is like not realistic. Even core, I think, is while the interfaces people use are not going to be 1.0 for a moment, or yeah, are pretty stable. It's like the underlying interfaces probably won't be 1.0. um, forcing us to drag the ecosystem forward with every update would be ideal. I don't know how we could do that with SDK other than like run like always every time we update main, it would like make a corresponding PR against SDK to like bump its tracked version or something. Or we import SDK as a dev dependency and test it against the main repo. It might be difficult. Access NeoVim. With someone asks about NeoVim and Z support. I don't exactly know how to test for Z. I don't know what are we missing from NeoVim.
You can do formatting with SVN now. Quite a few editors have support for like SVN type as the formatter, so you might be
Hmm.
able to get it working in NeoVim.
I guess we would need an LSP, but does LSPs don't provide like auto formatting, do they? LSP auto.
Well, some LSP servers can be configured to support formatting, but the interesting point is that some formatters can just format however you want, and some formatters support a feature called range formatting, which enables, at least in NeoVim, it enables not touching faults. Faults is like fault down some function, and if some other part of the code is formatted, the fault will not be unfolded. But otherwise, if a normal formatting, not arrangement, is applied, then it will unfold it, and this is the only issue I have with some LSP servers. But I guess other than formatting, I think we were talking about Tailwind support or something like that. Also, I don't know for sure, but we did talk about having an LSP for Dioxus at some point.
Yeah, we need to document this. There's uh you can get Tailwind like the at least in VS Code Tailwind support with this like regex.
Yeah, this I think it also supports in NeoGAN.
Yeah, I don't think we document this anywhere. Um,
I think one point that I should state is this requires a Tailwind LSP, the separate one, uh,
hmm.
working with the Rust LSP, with the Rust analyzer. But I noticed that sometimes this Tailwind LSP, which is a Node one, a JavaScript one, sometimes it hits my CPU really hard. I don't know for what reason. Maybe it's because I'm not using Dioxus and using some other Rust project, and it tries to find the pattern or something like that. And this is really annoying, and that's why I think I disabled this Tailwind support for now,
Hmm.
because I don't use Dioxus or rather Tailwind with Dioxus that regularly. So yeah, it, it creates a strain, additional strain on the CPU more times than it should be. And if we can create an Dioxus LSP that can somehow, I don't know, adapt, make an adapter or some interface with Tailwind LSP, then it will be better because it will only run when it should, not all the time.
I do wonder how to turn on Dioxus support or like the LSP automatically because I think it's done by file. We would have to like I gotta look into how LSPs work. Like how do you conditionally turn them on or make them active? I guess
There's definitely nested LSP support because they used a bunch in HTML. You have like a LSP for the HTML and then JavaScript and then the HTML.
Oh, there's nested. Yeah, that would be better because if we get formatting through the LSP as well, you wouldn't like we kind of have like a stutter. It sort of breaks like your lenses or whatever now. Like I don't know if you're in VS Code, it'll like put a little inlay hint above a lot of things in your code, like references. But when you run DX format, they disappear for a second because the entire file is modified rather than the modification going through VS Code. I don't know why it's like this. And it like causes layout shift. And I think if you're an LSP, you go through the right interface for that, but I have no clue how that works.
I think NeoVim also has something similar. I think it basically boils down to the fact that you can either like externally reformat the file and then reopen it or reread it, and then it will show you in your tab in your editor. Or you can use some special LSP server API that will directly in place format your code, like bypassing all the read and writes to the file system. Like it will be, yeah, I think at least in NewVim we have something like this. Like you can format directly in the buffer, and buffer is not necessarily attached to the underlying file system. You can have a buffer that is not saved yet, and that I think this makes all the plugins that rely on, like you said, like references on the right and stuff like that. I think this makes them play nicer together if you use the right API. So maybe this could also have something like this. But I also have heard that you can't run multiple or either multiple instances of the same LSP or multiple LSPs at all in VS Code. Is that true? I think someone mentioned it.
I'm pretty sure you can do multiple LSPs. I think that's how you can get like multiple completions as well.
Oh, I think no. Maybe in the one tab, one buffer can only have one LSP connected to it or something attached to it. I don't know, but someone mentioned it earlier, and I think that's kind of sucks for VS Code users.
You can only have one. There's some things you can only have one per file type, I believe, or like .rs. So, and we don't do .rsx because that just wouldn't work with regular Rust. Unless we entirely rewrote the build system, which doesn't seem fun. Embedded programming languages.
I think that should let us do it for .rs. We just like take over a little bit of the LSP. But I'm not sure if you could like pop back out again for expressions within RSX. I imagine you can, because you're gonna have like HTML and then JavaScript and then maybe JSX within that JavaScript.
Yeah, I was messing. So to Roberta's comment, I was messing around with it. You just have to change the curlies to parentheses and then the colons to equal, and then Rust format will just format RSX. So I guess we could like accept that. I don't. It's just like an entirely different flavor. It's like the same thing, and then that gets formatted by Rust format. I think I'd rather do an LSP with the embedded stuff. Maybe.
You could have the macro keep track of where it is and see when it shifts and then format itself.
You keep shipping hacks. They're not hacks if you ship them. They're like features. You know, like a hack is something you don't ship. Or like kind of ship. But if you like, I don't know, stabilize it, it's not a hack anymore. Yeah, exactly, Miles. That's the format. Which like it's not it's basically var arg support or like the same formatting that is doing for like C variadic functions. That like that's what that formatter is. You know, I could just go into Rust format and like change it to support ours. Like we could just like change Rust format to support ours because it's basically the same thing, right? Like the same code pass that they're doing here, just do the same thing for these colons. Yeah, perhaps. You know, the things in the Rust project are more malleable than they seem on the outside. You just kind of have to do it. Like I want to improve Rust analyzer support just generally. Like when you type .cl, what do you think this like auto completes to in Rust analyzer? Like, if you said clamp, you'd be right. It's not clone. Yet like clone is like the most common thing you have to do with like .cl. So there's like some sort of sorting that it needs to happen that is not happening. Um, and there's just a number of these little things in Rust analyzer that could be improved. Yeah, maybe we could score it or something, store it locally. I'll get all the bings. Yeah. No, I don't think I want to keep completing clamp. I don't know. I think you would just you would kind of say this is like a DSL that is like common enough that Rust format should support it, and then you would just add it. Like right now, it would just give up today, but in the future, it would just format things that look like that, and I think it would. I think you could get that PR through, but not as like a stable thing. I don't know, it'd be nice for it to be like the default. I don't know if you could get HTML auto supported, but like a dialect close enough, it only kicks in libraries. Or sorry, in macros. Oh, welcome back, Mark. Okay, a little bit of steering. There's a lot of PRs open. Some of the more important ones to take care of are I have to review some things. A lot of stuff by you, Evan. We have the double drop, which I guess we're gonna work on at some point. I saw you pushed a thing there.
Yeah, that was working this morning. I just need to like double check that there's no leaks because there's a leak in rye. But after I get rid of that, I think it's okay.
A leak in rye, like
Yeah, they do some like bind anything with the web view that is leaking right now, but then if we upgrade the version, it shouldn't. We're just like 2 versions behind.
right, that's nice. That'll be good when that's fixed. Um, how many levels of indirection are there now?
Max of 3 in signals.
This is not that bad. I mean, it's quite a bit. It's a lot of points you're chasing, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, I'll list some of the things, some of the PRs that you need to take a look at, and then I'll link in some other PRs. Mm. Right, these are the two main ones, and then the one on the doc site. GitHub doc site. Yeah. We have the three PRs. We have the main big, yeah, the docs PR. I'm very curious, Miles, what this situation is. I saw like Windows support was not working for the new CLI stuff. Is that
Yeah, so it is an issue somewhere with VS Code and whatever backend they use to interact with the terminal. So the TUI it works basically perfectly fine in a normal external like command prompt, but
mm-hmm.
whenever no matter like I tried PowerShell, I tried all kinds of different terminals, stuff like scrolling and text selection is just overridden. It doesn't work in VS Code.
All of the normal terminals work? It's just the like the Xterm JS thing that VS Code uses does not work.
Something, yeah.
Mm. Does it work on Linux? Does it work in all the other terminals? Or I guess what is broken? Like just the scrolling in the text section?
It so far it's just been like it has its own text selection over the implementation I made, and the scrolling just it'll scroll back in the buffer,
Mm-hmm.
and it also doesn't enter the alternate buffer.
Interesting. Is there any way to separate those fixes, like like changing that behavior from the rest of that PR?
Could you explain?
Because there's other stuff in the PR, like moving the bar to the bottom and stuff like that, uh, versus like the text selection and like system scrolling, or are they all like intertwined fixes?
I mean, it might take a bit of messing around, but it could probably be separated.
'Cause it might be worth. I don't know how bad it is. We would have to like hide the scroll bar or something so the selection doesn't bleed over on the separate line, at least temporarily. I don't know. I'd like to get the next pre-release out, and I feel like that bundling PR is good, but I kind of want to merge it with your work because I feel like now I'm like getting to the point where I'm like I would be stepping on your toes with that. Um, it'd be nice to get a pre-release of those two things out, and then like the final pre-release or release is like us fixing the terminal stuff, and then docs, like just publishing and polishing. But I think a one pre-release with like all the bundle, Tailwind hot reload, like bundled hot reload, all that stuff working would be good to test it because I think there's a lot of pieces that changed there. And the new TUI, or like the tweet fixes. So many things on the TUI that you've worked on. It looks very clean now. I think it's just the one line, right? It's not the two lines anymore.
Yeah, the screenshot on there is outdated.
Do you have a more recent screenshot of it?
I might be able to get one.
Okay. Having a wrestlings thing with Dioxus. I think honestly, once we, I don't know, mobile support looks like the hard part there is going to be Android. I think uh, iOS will be the easy one of the two. Surprisingly, that I didn't think that would be the direction, but that seems like it's going to be it. I think kind of once we're like happy with mobile support, then it's probably a good time to invest in things like a Rustling's course or like even like a YouTube thing, like learn Rust with Dioxus, which is like a 10-hour, 5-hour course or learn just enough Rust to build apps with Dioxus, I think would be like a very good top of funnel. You know, like I'm sure a lot of people want to learn Rust, and a lot of people want to build an app, and like building apps is hard generally today. Like a lot of tooling, text-based info. Yeah, maybe some sort of like combo or like a book or something like that. I mean, we could probably write the book on building apps with Rust, frankly. I think we know so much better now. I think it looks good in command prompt there, Miles.
There's no margin on the terminal, but other than that, looks pretty nice.
Yeah. Do terminals normally have margin in Shell? Or yeah, does mine have more?
It has a tiny bit. It has like a 2 pixel margin on macOS.
Interesting. Oh, as far as like Tailwind stuff, the PR I showed, the one that's like 22,000 lines change. Yeah, that one has bundled ACID hot reloading support right now. It's very raw. It's kind of not working, but kind of working at the same time. There's issues with it, but it is when the app is bundled, it reloads it, like it performs the ACID copying lazily, which is what we needed to get manganese hot reloading working, like ACID hot reloading. So whenever that one's merged, we should have bundled ACID hot reloading working. That doesn't mean when you run dxserve, like a Tailwind watcher will spawn. As of today, you'll still need to spawn the Tailwind watcher. I think we can add like an external serve or like a sidecar field to our dioxus.toml. That way, like it runs. I think we have that today, like a serve script or something like that. Is that like in the template somewhere?
No, we don't have that.
Okay. We might be able to add that. The Terry also has sidecar support, which like you could sort of scram, like push Tailwind watcher in like that. But as of, I don't think we're gonna ship the Tailwind like built-in watcher in 0.6, but the Tailwind bundled reloading should work in 0.6, which should be fine. And maybe we'll add like a sidecar field, so the template runs Tailwind watch for you. Yeah, right. It was a lot of work just to get that like one little simple thing of like, okay, now we need to like hot reload through the bundle, but it does work. Are you overriding the background color yourself? Is that why you don't like the default VS Code background?
No, it's just whatever's the terminal has.
Oh, is that not the default?
And it's default for the terminal.
Oh, I overrode mine, I believe. My color. There's like all of the colors you can override, color customizations. Dropdown dot background, I think, is what it is. Mine matches. Yeah, like all my stuff is the same color. Robertus, I think like a reference or like just the book or the guide or something like that. We probably can't duplicate all there is to like Rust itself, but I think a learn Rust through Dioxus would be a good sort of like source of material. I don't know if the ideal like person like coming to Rust or coming to Dioxus is someone who knows Rust already. Yeah. Or someone who's like new to Rust entirely. Someone who's like new to Rust entirely probably won't be that successful in building an app one way or the other. Like they'll probably get pretty far, but it'll still be confusing. Whereas if you know Rust, you can probably get pretty far in building apps. I don't know if you try to cater to like growing that audience today. I think long term definitely. The playground would be nice to focus on. I think to be able to let people tinker with it without having to do much of the tooling install.
An
Building
interactive
component.
learning course.
Yeah, Solid has it. I think Svelte has one as well. Or I don't know which one's the good one. Next has a very long form interactive tutorial. Did people like this Svelte tutorial though?
It seems kind of like a better reference than tutorial.
I'm always like confused when I'm like reading the stuff on the left and then I look at the editor and it doesn't do what it says it's gonna do because you have to click the solve button. It's like I try use it as a reference, but then I have to click the solve button to see what like the actually solved code is. But they do have like a little project section or like virtual file tree, I guess. I know we were talking about that. What else? With the binary viewer. This felt tutorial. Like long term. So yeah, it'd be really nice to get documentation for 0.6 alpha like live on the website, but behind an alpha like drop down or something like that. Like we have the staged versions. I really don't know how we're gonna get away with that. But I think long term, as we work on the nightlies and the alphas, having like updated dockside docs would be ideal instead of having to like point people to a site that doesn't exist or docs that don't exist. Like we'd be more encouraged to update docs as we go, rather than like one big push at the end.
Yeah, I think the big blocker for that right now is getting the versioned WASM files and JS files between the two. So we can like copy all the static files and move this into a folder, but then they'll try to point to the most recent WASM file and it breaks the site.
We might have to define some sort of like very basic format, basically the sitemap plus like an iframe, and then we have some external drive controller that knows how to deal with that for all the different versions and is able to drive any version of like .wasm in an iframe, but the router still synced from the outside. You know what I mean? I don't know if it'll work with SSR.
We don't really need the router to know too much unless we need to like update the sidebar with the most recent version. Because the router should just fall back to external routes, which is like a full reload. That's fine between versions.
Yeah, we just want SEO to kick in. Like we want scraping.
I think just like allowing a prefix, maybe if we just rebuild with a base URL, it would fix this. It's just like the 0.4 docs are currently broken because of this.
Because we do docs, we basically do docs.com/ or Dioxus next.com/docs/ 0.4. Like we do it like this, right? We
Yeah.
need what you're saying is, yeah. Oh yeah, it's completely different. Yeah, we should we should probably come up with like a common format for these, and then like have to roll back to 0.4. It's tough because those things might be like anchored to git commits, so we have to go back to each docs and fix it because they're on git commits. But or it's just markdown.
No, it's not even just Markdown anymore because we have like little embedded Dioxus live demos for different parts of the guide. And that's going to work different for different versions.
Mm.
That's something we can figure out, but it's a little bit tricky.
It could be iframes. They those don't need to be statically rendered. Yeah, the current option is like it's an avenue, but then you end up breaking all your links if you're not careful. Like people will link to something on your site and then it's broken.
I think current and then redirect to the real version is a good way to go. But we need to like set the current as canonical. I tried doing that. I ran it against all the static files and Google didn't pick it up. So something in the formats there wrong.
Yeah, I need to go purge our entry, I guess. I don't know how this works. Maybe I'll add you to it and you can purge it. If I can figure out how to do that. I've never had to do that before, but it's starting to seem like everyone's tired of getting bounced to 0.3 docs when they're like trying to do stuff with modern Dioxus.
Yeah, I see a lot of people on 0.3.
That's what the docs are out there. Yeah, getting nightlies. I don't know. SDK and docs are like two places that I think having nightlies, or at least them being version synced to main, would be great. Because then we're encouraged to sort of be a little bit more respectful to the big consumers. I feel like the Discord's been active. Maybe I've been just gone for a moment, but it seems like every day I wake up and there's like a gazillion posts and help in general. Frankly, we're probably not gonna like attract a bunch of crypto stuff. I don't know. Like the Rust community is not. It seems like fractured into like crypto and non-crypto, and I think we kind of want to stay like out of the crypto. I don't mind being uh, like facilitating, like supporting docs and like all that stuff for it, but we're probably not going to focus on being like a crypto solution. I think we want to be more of like a general platform solution. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Discord has been very busy. So much that I haven't been able to keep up with all the messages, frankly. But again, I have been whacking bushes in Alaska. So. Yes, I did indeed see that there, Mark. I'm hoping, or just sort of like a general zoom out sort of thing, making the YouTube channel a little bit more active, or like putting more content on the YouTube channel. I don't know. I like Twitter. Twitter's a great medium. Well, actually, I don't like Twitter, but it's still a good medium. But I think branching out of like where we do more of our like showcasing stuff from Rust, like the subreddit and Twitter, would be a good idea. I think YouTube is a very it's like high effort content, but it's like I think high return. I think like maybe a better audience is there to an extent. So I think we should definitely invest more in like YouTube content. Also, making YouTube videos is just fun. Sort of like it's like an investment. People come back and view stuff from years ago, just if it's useful. Yeah, I think that's like one of the things about like being stable is you can make a tutorial and then it lasts for a while because the syntax hasn't changed tremendously or the functions haven't changed. Just you shouldn't, I don't know, you shouldn't be afraid to do like make content just because you're thinking you're gonna like change some API in the future. But it is very nice to know like you're making a video and like the functions you're using are probably stable for a long time. Yeah, and there's like so much content outside of Dioxus itself that you could do, tech content, Rust content. I think it's stuff that's just like interesting to us. That would be just an interesting YouTube channel in general. Um, we have a little bit of authority in the space, I guess. Yeah, I have a bunch of blog posts on the to-do list, but we haven't published any of them. Any good ideas for like easy tickets for like people who new to the project?
Yeah, I was looking at that. I've kind of been neglecting the good first issue tag.
Yeah,
Eh, we're like fixing more bugs, which has been a lot of smaller things. There's like documentation issues. If you like run into any bit of the docs that is more sparse, and you check the PRs that are in progress right now, then that would be good. Or just like making a list of documentation things that are lacking would also be good. We do have a tag here, but there's only like 4 issues there right now. There's not a whole lot of like tiny things that have been marked.
the web workers one would be really nice. I'm gonna take off the good first issue tag from the canonicalized assets thing. Apparently, it was much harder. Oops. Actually, you know what would be very useful is we don't have a lot of good showcase larger apps or like clones of things that are popular. More than possible to build them, but and we kind of have like trimmed down what is in our example projects repo. But I would love to fill that example projects with more proper examples. Like Next has this. Theirs are in their tree, like their main tree. So like we could just move everything to the main tree and then like exclude them from the workspace or something so they don't count towards our compile times. Um, like just a bunch of full projects in the main repo or that example projects repo that are like full. And we're like less encouraged to break them. They get kind of stable-ish. Oh yeah, I guess Leptos also has a projects thing. Um, we should move ours out of that Git repo, so we're encouraged to work on them.
Yeah, I think most of them are back in the examples. There's a few that didn't get moved over.
Yeah, we definitely have some interesting things we could build. And we'll see how that goes. There's some back in there, Miles. Couldn't really get a WebSocket up on our first try, but we'll get there. But I don't know, daily, there's some tools that make this easy. Wait for it. More cross-platform libraries like this. Pretty easy to do this in Rust. Pretty hard to do in all the other languages. Yeah, we should move our example apps into the main repo. I think that's a good idea because they're always kind of out of date, and then I always forget about them. But then, yeah, Next has this as well, as LoveTest does. being able to just like breeze through all the different options, and you could like create a lot of them. It'd be good for like good first issue, like an example that does X, or like we could have an issue that tracks all the examples we'd want. Mm-hmm. Yeah. More stuff on the website as well. I think the playground's a good start. Being able to like boot up entire example projects, and I almost want the doc side on the main repo because it's way easier to maintain that, but it seems like kind of like a far away problem solution. It's nice that it's on a separate repo. I think things migrate in and out of the main repo a lot. Uh, it's all about like support. How much support can you give a thing? Thanks for coming, Mark. Okay, if there's any questions, feel free to ask them now, and then I think we're probably gonna end it up soon, wrap it up soon. My chair's so squeaky. Sorry, guys. I will get a less squeaky chair. That's on my to-do list for next office hours.
I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, this was very casual office hours. I'm hoping we can get a YouTube video out by next office hours. I think that'd be fun. I think that's a good little challenge of like one or two cool like content type videos. Hopefully that a month's a long time. Also not that much time.
Yeah, like structuring the app is going to be a new chapter in the Dioxus Essentials guide. All of the other ones are done. That's the one I'm like a little bit less sure on. I want to survey around, see what people structure their app as. I have like
Mhm.
a somewhat big app, but I also want to see how other people do it.
Yeah, I think that'd make a good both like a docs topic and then maybe a longer form. Maybe we'll like chat about it. Like we'll do like a little just brainstorming session and then record it or something, take some notes, and then could be interesting content in of itself, or like the guide or something, and then get some feedback on it from people. We have some video ideas for this. I think it'd be good to like create that, like put that just out in the world so people can edit and comment on it. Maybe like a XMD or something. I get pitched a bunch of random AI tools, but I think one really good AI tool, or like an AI tool that I would get some mileage out of, is taking all of the questions from the help chat and the help forum, dumping them into like the top 100 questions, and then putting that somewhere, like on the website, or I mean, you can mirror the Discord. I don't know if people want that, like from like a privacy perspective, like they're like content mirrored to the website, but something would be nice to like move all of our questions out or summarize all of the questions people have made, the top 100 questions. It's probably a fun little side project. Blitz is not that hard. Blitz is, yeah, you just rip out the CSS resolution engine from Firefox and you plug it into your own custom rendering stack, and then you've got a browser. That's not that crazy. I guess that would be an interesting thing. I guess we do a lot of very interesting things generally. I think we err on the side of interesting more than like production. I right now we're in a very like get it production ready phase. But see, not everybody wants a web browser. This is the challenge. Particularly if you're doing like a video editing app, you don't really want to use a web browser for that. You need to render textures from the GPU to the screen. Everything else is just overhead. So you do need something for that. And a lot of the people who come to Rust want to build those types of apps. Or like that's what they have in mind, right? They're going to use Rust for something very performant. So we kind of want to provide the same experience that Dioxus desktop gives you, but with way more control over the actual rendering stack. And you can't really do that with the web view today. You kind of have to build your own web view. I don't know. I wanted to do like a high-end graphing calculator, like displace matplotlib. That's like my long-term goal. I don't like matplotlib. I think it could be so much better. It is the best we have, but it could be better. But like video editors, game engines, all sorts of stuff like that. People really want just raw access to their like GPU textures, and we can't do that today with our desktop renderer. So in theory, if Blitz is 100% equivalent with WebKit or whatever that we use, WebView, but you have access to the textures, then it's just a better product. But people still use JavaScript as the escape hatch. So you kind of have to push both Dioxus itself to a point where you don't need JavaScript at all anymore for escape hatches. And you also need to push the native renderer to a point where it's equivalent to the browser. And those are two very long projects. But the long-term bet is will be apps that you can build with Blitz that are like 3 megabytes that you could not have done with a web view. Oh, and then you can also just like render HTML CSS without booting Chrome. I think Evan really wants to do that.
Yeah,
AI.
completely separate from Dioxus, you could do like crazy web scraping things because you don't need Chrome.
Yeah. Something to your point, Vladimir, what I really want to do is like use manganese to connect, like to export, like that your app needs a database, and then you can like statically analyze what tables and stuff you need, and then you can generate them on the fly without any fancy, like crazy tooling that SQLX has to do. And then you can just like upload your app to some deploy service, and then it like creates all the infrastructure for you, like SST. We just need like the basics first of like actually getting your app up, like a SaaS video. But like the long term, you can do it all from Dioxus itself. Cool. Okay. Well, it's 11:06 for me. I don't know what time it is for you guys. I'm gonna probably make some lunch and head out. If you guys have any more questions, please ask in the general chat or the help chat or the help forum or whatever. We're around. We'll be gone on Friday, and then I'll be back. Going to Hawaii, actually, Alaska and then Hawaii. I was gonna go to Montreal after this for RustConf, but I decided I can't do that much traveling at once. So next year, or you know, if you go to GoSim in Beijing, I think we'll be there. Some of us, not all of us. Yeah.
Like all spectrums of weather there.
Where in China?
Well, like going to Alaska and then Hawaii, you get some rain somewhere in there.
Yeah. Oh, I swear, Alaska has everything in one day. Like you go up and down. Weather is snowing in one section, it's like sweltering in another section.
I can't imagine Alaska sweltering.
It was warm on the final day. I don't know. It was a very beautiful day. They called it a brochure day because it was so nice. Like the walkout. Oh, Greece is so nice. Go to Naxos. Go to the Venetian Cafe. Naxos. So good. I miss Greece. I'll go back. I kept talking about like I wanted to go sit on some like island in Greece. I don't know if that's happening. I think I might just go home and see family. I think Greece might be a little too far away. Yeah, the trains are cool in Alaska. I will say they have a railroad, like a ginormous railroad that runs through the whole state. I wouldn't say the cities are much to write home about. I don't want to offend any Alaskans, but the nature quite beautiful.
I want a little Airbnb on a train. It goes across the nation.
You guys live all across the country. We could just do like a team offsite. We could do a team meetup / offsite, so people can meet us on like the cross country train. Just work on the train for a week. That could be fun. Greece is cheap. You can hang out in some town and still have a good time, I think. Don't go to the islands then. Islands are expensive. Big tourist trap. But a nice tourist trap. Yeah, the Zephyr. We could take the Zephyr across the country. We'll advertise that we're gonna take the Zephyr. Hopefully that's not we could do a hackathon on a train. That would be fun. But I'm gonna try to get out this this big bundled hot reloading PR, and then maybe like a little thing for a sidecar. So at least regular Tailwind with the watch thing should work. We shall see. I'm anxious to get this PR out. I have broken down our workspace into many smaller crates to get the compile times up. So compile times better, 50%, 100% better, like twice as fast now. It went from like 30 seconds to like 15 seconds. If you're running an M1, I think if you're running an M4, I think it's like 3 seconds flash. Like, no, we'll see. Oh, I got the linker working without a link script that we have to do in the intermediate. Miles / Evan. You can just set an nvar and then like on DX. So you just run DX as like with UR linker as an nvar set, and then when you go to run DX, you just check if that nvar is set, and then it acts as a linker. It was way easier than I expected. So that whole thing is a lot cleaner right now. It's great. We were able to clean that up. When you like merge the different pieces together, you get a lot better sense of what is necessary and what isn't necessary. But then I think we will still need to respin out manganese. But it's good that it was like simplified to what we needed to be. So. Yeah. Oh, yeah. For trains, offline is your best friend. There's a command that will download like the top 1,000 crates or something for offline mode, or like it also like look at all of your projects on your work computer and then like download them for offline. I coded on the back of a bus in Vietnam with that. It was very nice. I was able to get my portfolio site working. Okay. Thank you guys. Good office hours. I will see you next month. Ideally, a 0.6 will be in your lap by then, like a complete published with docs and maybe a video. We'll see how the video goes. And yeah, we'll merge in the example projects into the main repo. I think that would be good. Okay. All right. Thank you. We will, Eli, I don't want to make you go unnoticed. We will make an issue or like post in the help chat and we'll get that working. Okay. Bye all.
Bye.
Goodbye.